So today I want to talk about a pretty important issue to me which might, I should say hopefully, doesn't return within Black Ops Gulf War Zombies. It is something we've seen ever since Cold War, and it's been in every Zombies that released since then, so Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3, which is operators. Being a person that loves the zombie storyline, there are many reasons from my point of view why these have made the zombie storyline weaker, less interesting, more boring, but I also think operators affect the gameplay as well. For the longest time, there was no such thing as operators in Call of Duty. In Zombies, you had a set cast of characters. In the multiplayer, you played as a set faction, like some random soldier from some random army that you would play as in the campaign. I can't remember the exact COD that introduced operators. Wasn't it World War II or maybe COD 2019? I think it was around that time, and since then they've been a staple in the multiplayer and the Zombies mode. We know why, because they're a big money maker. They don't make the story any better, they don't make the gameplay any better, but they bring in money. You put operators inside of bundles or the battle pass, there's then more of a chance that people are going to spend more money on the game because they want to play as a specific character. For the multiplayer, I think this is totally fine. I think it works. I've brought a couple of operators in my lifetime, not too many, maybe 2 or 3. I refuse to spend extra money on this franchise, but they do release some good ones now and again, you have to admit. That just tempt you. A lot of them are terrible, but when it comes to the multiplayer side, being able to play as any crazy character that you want to, well, it doesn't really have any effect because the storyline in multiplayer isn't connected to the characters that you're playing as. There is a story, but it's told 99% through cutscenes, so the usual important storyline stuff that you would get from a set character, such as quotes, was never really a thing in multiplayer. People did argue that crazy operators made it feel more unrealistic. Being able to play as someone with, I don't know, a pink ghillie suit, flashing lights all over them, someone dressed in a bunny suit, takes away the realism, which I can see, but Call of Duty to me has always been an arcadey type of shooter. Battlefield was the more realistic game, and honestly, whenever I'm playing multiplayer, I rarely even notice other operators' outfits anyway, and I don't even get to see mine because it's first person. So ever since the introduction of operators in MP, I think the majority of people were fine about. It doesn't affect the storyline, it doesn't really affect the gameplay. If you want to wear a pink outfit and potentially make yourself more visible on the battlefield, well, that's a disadvantage to you, not other players. Yes, the unrealistic argument is valid, but operators were never a game changer. That was until they were introduced into Zombies. Now, if you're not a Zombies player, then perhaps you won't understand this. If you just play the mode now and again, if you're a casual player, if you don't care about the story, or you just don't really care about what's happening in game, you just want to have fun, kill zombies, and then get out, you probably won't understand when I say operators ruined Call of Duty Zombies. There are many reasons, so let me just explain why. The first one being, one of my favourite things about COD Zombies was that now and again from time to time, usually in one map per game, you would get to play as a celebrity cast. So in Black Ops 1, in Call of the Dead, we had Sarah Michelle Gellar, Robert Englund, Danny Trejo, Michael Rooker, some really awesome one-off characters that you could only play as in that map. They had their own quotes, their own cutscene, their own storyline. I don't think Call of the Dead was the best map, but the characters made it really fun. I love just listening to some of the stuff they'd come out with. In Mob of the Dead, the voice actors for our characters and who they were modelled off, to be honest, were Ray Liotta, Michael Madsen, Chaz Palminteri, and Joe Pantaleona. Some amazing actors in real life, and the characters they played in Mob of the Dead are for me one of the reasons why this is my favourite Zombies map of all time. These one-off characters in Mob, these celebrities that played them, did such an amazing job. Being able to play as them in the game was so fun, and COD Zombies is, or I should say, was unique in that way. How many games are there out there that let you play as different celebrity casts of characters that are integrated this well? There aren't many. In Black Ops 3 and Shadows of Evil, the celebrities that played our characters in that map were Jeff Goldblum, one of my favourite actors, Heather Graham, Neil McDonough, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who that is, and Ron Perlman, who was the boxer, again, an amazing actor. Those two specifically, Ron Perlman and Jeff Goldblum, for me were so fun to play as. I mean, all of them were great. That was yet another amazing celebrity cast of characters we got to play as in COD Zombies. Something unique to that mode. Not multiplayer, not the campaign, even though we've got great voice actors in that, we never got to play as celebrity characters like we did in Zombies. And to be totally honest, even when you look at other regular set casts, you could say, that weren't necessarily celebs or big time actors, we've had people such as Nolan North, who voices Richtofen and other characters, but he's known for Richtofen. To me, he is the best voice actor in the video game industry, bar none, and the fact that we were privileged enough to have him voice one of our characters in Zombies, and he just happened to be the best one, we were so lucky. We also had Steve Blum, who was Dempsey, another amazing voice actor. The same could be said for Tom Kane, who was Takio. The Victor's crew, Stuling and Misty. The 5 crew, JFK, McNamara. Pretty much every single voice actor or actual celebrity actor that has played a character within COD Zombies made this mode so amazingly unique and fun. I really miss playing as celebrity casts, because now that we have operators in Zombies, that's just something that's not possible. And the proof is that we haven't seen it return. Ever since operators were introduced in Cold War, we haven't seen a celebrity cast of characters in Zombies. Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 3, it's gone. And that's because we don't have set casts of characters anymore. That's just one of the reasons why I think operators ruin Zombies. The other huge one for me is the implications it has on the storyline. I think it's now made the zombie story a whole lot weaker, because one of the ways that Treyarch told it was through character quotes. So people such as Richtoff and Takio, Nikolai and Dempsey would say things in game, they would have conversations with each other, and through that you would pick up certain parts of the story. But because we now have operators, because you can choose who you want to play as, that means Treyarch can't add specific quotes into the game for certain characters, so that element of storytelling is now gone. It means the story has to be told mainly through cutscenes. Whereas Treyarch used to be able to spread things out, they could tell part of the story through cutscenes, they could tell a little bit more of the story through character quotes. Pretty much everything is now either through cutscenes or documents or ciphers that you find in the game. That whole element of storytelling through character quotes isn't possible with operators. And to go along with that, the storyline is now weaker because, well, there's less story being told. Another point, and again, perhaps you won't get this if you're a more casual player, but if you played Zombies since the beginning, World at War 2008, or even if you got into it during BO1, BO2, maybe even BO3, because you played as the same cast of characters throughout multiple games, that gave you a chance to get to know them, to get attached to them. For me, that's the same with any game. Red Dead Redemption with, I don't know, John. You played as him in the first one, you saw his story being told in the second one, you got to know him over multiple games. By the second game, you became quite attached to him, you got to learn his story. In COD Zombies, if you'd played since the beginning, you played as Richtoff and Takio, Nikolai and Dempsey, pretty much from 2009, their introduction in Shinonuma, to their death in Black Ops 4 in, what was that, 2019? Almost 10 years of getting to know those characters, so pretty quickly a lot of people became attached to them and really invested into their personal stories. And that meant that by the end, I remember that Blood of the Dead cutscene where we saw Richtoff cry. If you just search on YouTube reactions to that, you will see genuine reactions of people crying to that video game character's death, because people had 10 years to get to know that one character. But again, because we now have operators and Zombies, there's not a chance that you can get invested into a character. It means whether they die or not, whether you're playing a game of Zombies and you get killed, you don't care about the character you're playing as. They're just a random operator. But in one map you could be playing as one character, and then in another you can play as someone totally different. You cannot possibly get attached to operators in Zombies because they're not canonically a part of this story. They're just random characters that exist in this universe. But as far as the storyline goes, because every player can play as a different operator, we don't all play as the same one, they're not actually a part of the storyline. They're just random characters that exist in this universe. So that emotional side of Zombies, which I loved, which Treyarch actually did a really good job at, is gone. Operators in Zombies are so boring, they're dull, they're lifeless, they're robotic, they have zero emotion. Unlike the set cast of characters that we had from World at War 2 BO4, they're emotionless. All they come out with is random common quotes such as "zombie down" or "I need ammo, reloading." They say nothing of substance. So you can see how the zombie storyline was massively affected by the introduction of operators. But there's one last thing I have to say that really annoys me, and I think Treyarch could avoid this, but money-wise, this is why this is possible, but being able to play as operators such as Samantha Maxis, Weaver, that shouldn't be there. For example, in the Firebase C cutscene, Samantha comes out of the Dark Ether and greets the operators, but the problem is, one of the operators you can play as is Samantha Maxis. So you can see two Samanthas in the cutscene, which makes zero sense. This has never been explained to us by Treyarch. You can come up with some random theory if you want to as to how this is possible, but from multiple points of view, this takes away every inch of realism that still existed in Zombies at this point. The storyline in Firebase C and Cold War revolved around Samantha being trapped in the Dark Ether. It was supposed to be emotional, in quotation marks. It was supposed to be emotional when we were reunited with her and saved her from the Dark Ether, but then when she comes face to face with herself, you as an operator, it looks so dumb. Like, this is actually not a part of the story. How you can play as Weaver in the game when Weaver can also talk to you through the intercom. We know he doesn't go to any of our zombie map locations, yet you can still play as him as an operator in game when we know he's not there. He's sitting in an office communicating with us. To me, when you're doing this, adding random normal operators is one thing, but then to add ones in the game that don't even make sense tells you everything. Just imagine for a second, if you can't get on board with what I'm saying here because you're not that into zombies so it doesn't bother you, well, imagine if this was a thing in the campaign. One of the best things in the campaign is that you play as these characters that you get invested in throughout the whole 6-7 hour long experience. You want to learn their story. Now imagine the people you play as are just random operators that have nothing about them, and then imagine that you can play as Soap, but you also hear Soap talking to you through a radio. Soap's not supposed to be there in the mission. Storyline wise, he's somewhere else, but you can pick him as an operator because, hey, why not? We just want money. We'll let you play as Soap. Just give us $20. We're not bothered if it ruins the storyline. Yeah, to me, this is probably the biggest thing that I think's ruined Call of Duty Zombies. Perhaps there are bigger things gameplay wise, maybe even bigger things storyline wise, but what this tells me more than anything is where their focus is for this mode. Back in the day, it felt like Zombies was a passion. Like, the developers loved making it, they put so much effort into it and care, and the introduction of operators into it, replacing set casts, feels like the total opposite. It feels extremely cheap and, well, they're only there because they want you to spend more money. If you don't play the multiplayer, if you don't play Warzone, if you just play Zombies, well, you're probably not going to buy operators if they're just for those modes. But if you can also play as operators in the Zombies mode, well, that's another big portion of the player base that Activision can now get their hands on. And that's simply why they were introduced, because they have zero positive effect on anything. If you have absolutely no care for anything I've said, and you simply just want to get in, kill the undead, and play as some wacky, crazy character, then yeah, I'm sure you're not bothered, but it's so annoying. I hope operators don't return in future Zombies. I hope we don't see them in Gulf War, but I just have this funny feeling that they will. They're a thing in Zombies now. And as long as they're here, storyline-wise, it's always going to miss something, even gameplay-wise. Listening to operators repeat the same mundane lines, undead down, reloading, instead of listening to thoughtful conversations between a set cast of characters, even that, surely that's gotta bother the casual player. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 700,000 subscribers, so it'd be cool if we could hit that. But anyway, I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.